Okay, good evening. This evening we're going to be cooking some absolute monster rib fillet steaks from Maleny black Angus beef. You see there's no direct marbling through the muscle, pure naturally grass fed, just the natural fat around the outside, and we're not going to do anything to these except salt and pepper. We're going to cook them outside on the Weber Q. Weber Q cooks it very nicely because we can close the lid, and these are such thick steaks they're going to need an oven effect as well as a grill. We could cook it on the hooded barbecue, but we cook a lot of things on the Weber Q. So we're just going to season this with a bit of salt and pepper. Now the Weber Q's been on full for about 10 minutes just to make sure the plate's nice and hot. We're going to put these very large bone-in rib fillets onto the bars. We're going to try and get them in between the burner because we don't want the rendering fat to fall onto the flames, because that will cause a fire and it will burn the steaks before the steaks are cooked. So I'm just going to lay the first one in the middle there. Really nice sizzle. It's important that we get a nice hot grill, and we're going to put the seasoned side down, and then we're going to season the side up. Okay, now a tip with steak, it doesn't matter which steak you are cooking, we need to get to the same stage of cooking. It doesn't matter how thick or thin the steak is. We need to look for blood spots arriving on the top of the meat. So we need to leave that sit and carry on cooking. We can give it a half turn to get the char marks going in nice crisscross pattern underneath, but we need to wait to turn it over until we see blood spots arriving on the top of the steak. Now that could quite easily, with a steak this thick, take 15 or 20 minutes, even if we are just having a medium rare steak. So that's the start. By the time you come back, we will have turned them a quarter turn, and I will show you the blood spots on the top, and then with that stage we'll turn them over to cook the second side. Now we've been cooking for about 12 minutes, and you can see the blood spots that I was talking about starting to arrive on the top of the muscle. That means the middle of the muscle has got enough heat to force the blood up to the surface. You'll notice on the thicker steak, the bigger one over here, not yet. And so it doesn't matter how thick the steak, we need to look for the blood spots, okay, which you can now see coming. This steak is thicker this end and this end, so we're just going to make a judgment, and I'm going to show you how we should cook grass-fed beef. But first of all, we're going to turn this over and show you the char marks on the other side. You'll see now we've got those nice lines that you would expect on a restaurant steak, and this one is not ready to turn over yet. So we're just going to keep an eye, and then what we're going to do when we turn this one over, we're going to turn the heat down in this Weber, could be a hooded barbecue, down to a medium heat and close the lid, and we're going to cook it a little bit slower and a little bit longer than a normal grilled steak on the barbecue. The reason for that is grass-fed beef benefits from a slightly longer, lower temperature, even though we're making steak. You'll see we get some good char, but we're going to turn it down to medium. Okay, so we've been cooking on a medium heat with the hood closed on a Weber, could be on the hooded barbecue. We just cook on a Weber, it works at a slightly lower temperature, and as I said, that suits grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is more solid. You'll see they haven't shrunk a great deal, and the flesh is still quite firm to touch. We've got a little bit of blood on top of this one. I personally like mine a little bit sort of rare, so I'm going to take that off, and you'll see it's got a good caramelisation on both sides, and we're just going to rest that on a plate. Okay, my wife and daughter, they like their steak a little bit more towards the medium, that's why they're having the thinner steak. But again, you'll see the caramelisation is there. You see there's a bit of juice on the top, but no blood sitting on there, and that also will go on there, and that's going to rest out now. So we need to cover it with foil and just leave it to sit for about half of the cooking time. So it's taken about 25 minutes, so it should sit and rest for 12 minutes with the foil on the top. And it's important not to do that in the oven, just cover it with foil. There should be enough core heat in those steaks to keep them nice and hot and allow them to relax, and that will make it much more tender when we eat it and help the blood to even out throughout the muscle. We've now rested out under foil for about 10 minutes. You see some of the juice rising on the surface. That's common when we're resting the steak out. You'll see that the marrow bone is not running pink anymore, it's cooked. This is obviously a thin one, which we're looking at a nice medium. So we're just going to take this onto the chopping board and we're just going to go through the middle, and you should hopefully see a nice medium steak. Still a little bit of pink, and this one is obviously going to be a little bit more rare because that's how I like it. And there you can see that's more of a medium rare. So resting out definitely helps the blood even out throughout the steak.